Seriously? Hey guys, and welcome to this Ork Tactics video with me, 6+ Stevo. So, we've got the 8th edition Ork Codex in our grubby little mitts. We have all been feverishly reading through this thing, seeing the new stratagems, the new clan cultures, the new warlord traits, the new psychic powers, all the new shiny Gubbinz, and so much more besides. There is so much good stuff in this codex, and I firmly believe we are going to be a much stronger faction on the tabletop now. But with all this new stuff, it brings new tactics and new ways to play our favourite army, and that's what this video series is all going to be about. You can expect a lot of videos in this series covering tactics, covering different units, covering different army builds, and so much more besides. So if you haven't already, guys, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share your comments below. But for now, let's get on with the video. So the first video in this series is going to be covering probably one of the most important units in your army, and that is your warlord. Your army is essentially built around your warlord. Whoever's leading your war sort of sets the whole tone of your army, and his character sort of bleeds down through the knobs and the boys and all your war machines and everything. And in the way that your army synergizes and things work together. So I thought, what better place to start than looking at some different warlord builds that we can come up with. And basically, I've been having a bit of fun going through the codex and just building some different warlord builds. And this doesn't just cover war boss either. This covers your big mech and also your weird boy. So your non-named character HQs. This is what this video is primarily about. I'm not covering the named characters because we're talking about building a warlord here. Those characters are already set in stone. You can't change their warlord traits or anything like that. They are what they are. And they are very good and well worth a look, a lot of them. But for this video, we're going to be looking at your generic war bosses, big mechs in mega armor, and your weird boys. So let's start off with the war boss. And the first of my builds is one I referred to as Defy T World. For obvious reasons. This is the guy, if you want your warlord to be about nothing but pure combat, getting in there and smashing face, this is I think, a potentially very good build. So we've got the war boss at 65 points, we've got the combi scorcher at 17 points, he comes with a power claw at 13 points, and he also has, for free, the attack squig. Always take an attack squig if you're using a war boss, because it's free. Never leave it behind, it's an extra couple of attacks. So this guy's coming in at 95 points. I've given him clan culture Goths, because with Goth clan culture, the sixes in combat are exploding sixes, which means you will be getting extra attacks if you roll any sixes to hit in combat. So very useful. I didn't, however, give him the Goth Warlord trait. For that, because the Goth Warlord trait gives you +1 attacks, which, okay, that's quite nice, but you've got the Might is Right Warlord trait, which gives you +1 strength and +1 attack. However, I didn't go for that either. Those are the obvious choice for your sort of fighty war boss. What I've decided to go for in this build instead is the Warlord trait Brutal but Cunning. And the reason for that is, this trait means he can re-roll hits in the fight phase, which is very cool. So this gets around his power claw, reducing his weapon skill. So he'll only be hitting on 3s in combat. So this gets around that quite well. Giving those re-rolls to hit is going to be very effective. Also, when he charges, or if he is charged, or performed a heroic intervention, he gets +1 to the damage characteristic of his melee weapon. And the melee weapon I've decided to give him is not just a standard power claw, but something out of the shiny Gubbinz section at no extra cost, these things are so cool, is the Killer Claw. And the Killer Claw is a very nice upgrade to your standard Power Claw. This thing has the same strength ×2, it has the same AP at -3, but instead of D3 damage, this thing does a flat 3 damage. And as an extra little bonus, you can re-roll failed to wound rolls for this weapon. So now your fighty war boss is re-rolling his hit rolls, he's re-rolling his wound rolls, he is getting exploding 6s for all rolls to hit, he is also getting +1 damage on the charge. So this Killer Claw that gives him a flat 3 damage at strength 12, AP -3, whenever he charges or performs a heroic intervention, this is going to be doing a flat 4 damage. Yeah, this guy is going to be incredibly efficient at killing just about anything. Now, yeah, he gets the couple of extra attacks from the squig, but obviously he's not getting I haven't given him a Warlord trait to give him extra attacks, which I think is quite the obvious. You know, you've got a big weapon like that, you want to give as many attacks as possible, and that is a good one to go for. But I just feel the brutal but cunning Warlord trait is even better because it's making those attacks really efficient. It means he's re-rolling all his misses and all his failed wounds, and he's given really, really reliable damage at strength 12. I think this guy in a Goth army would be an absolute powerhouse in combat. And he may get the extra attacks because of those exploding 6s. You could end up rolling quite a few 6s and getting a whole load of extra attacks, and all those attacks doing a flat 4 damage each. You don't have to worry about when you come to damage rolling those 1s. This guy is going to be wrecking face. So yeah, for you Goth players out there, I think this is a build that is well worth looking into. Also, he's got the Scorcher for some nice up close firepower. I think the Scorcher is just lovely, especially if you're going to be getting him into fight. It's nice to toast things up before he charges, and he's going to be in the thick of it, so if he is being charged, he can also toast people on the way in. But yeah, fighty war boss there, I think, is very, very, very good. And he could be used with another clan. It doesn't have to be Goth, because the Warlord trait is not clan exclusive, neither is the Killer Claw. So he could have a different clan trait. So if you wanted a fighty war boss in your Snakebite mob or your Death Skulls mob, then yeah, this build is certainly worth looking at, guys. But what do you do if you're not so interested in fighting up close? If unleashing a whole load of Daka is more your scene? Well, then you take a look at this build, the Shootie Wall boss. This guy comes in at a bit cheaper for 82 points. So you got your war boss at 65. I've given him a combi rocket launcher for 12 points and a big chopper for 5 points. And given him the Bad Moon clan culture, so he can re-roll 1s in the shooting phase to hit. So that's very handy, helping with his accuracy. And for the shiny Gubbinz, I've given him the Dead Shiny Shooter. Now this is a fantastic upgrade to his gun, and not the entire gun either, because the great thing about this thing is it only replaces the shooter part of the weapon, so he will still have his rocket launcher as well if he opts to use that. And the Dead Shiny Shooter improves the stats of the shooter just dramatically. It's range 18 inches, assault 12, strength 4, AP -1, which is really nice, damage 1. So he's kicking out 12 shots from this thing. 12 shots, re-rolling 1s. And he's still benefiting from the Daka rule as well, so he's getting exploding 6s with these 12 shots, meaning potentially he could get a lot more than 12 shots. And the AP -1 is lovely. Now it is only strength 4, so it's going to be very dangerous to infantry and stuff. But against vehicles and monsters and things, not so good. That's why I've given him the combi rocket launcher, so he's got that option as well. So he can fire that instead, or as well as if he reduces his ballistic skill. But also to help out against vehicles and monsters, I've given him the Warlord trait, Big Killer Boss. So this is quite a cool one, because that ability gives him add 1 to wound rolls for your Warlord's attacks that target a vehicle or monster unit. So it just says attack, so that's both shooting and combat. So that's also going to benefit his big chopper. So yeah, even against vehicles and stuff where he would be wounding on 5s or 6s, adding the +1 to wounds there, or with his rocket launcher, firing that thing in, re-rolling the 1s, remember? It's going to be really good against some of the tougher units in the game as well. And he's going to be kicking out a lot of shots. And he's going to be no slouch in combat either with the big chopper. Especially if he's coming up against vehicles and monsters, adding 1 to on the wound roll. So yeah, I think this guy makes a really, really good leader for a bad moon army. With the dead shiny shooter is just a fantastic piece of war gear. I absolutely love that gun. But Stevo, I hear you cry. I don't have enough points for those fancy warlords. I'm playing in a small points game and I need a really, really cheap war boss. Well, you've come to the right place, Sonny Jim, because here we have build for the budget warlord. This is for you Ork players on a points budget. Like I said, say you're playing in a small points game and you're trying to spare as many points as you can, and you're just filling out this HQ slot because you want something really cheap. One option you have is to go through the index and choose some of the war gear options from there. For example, from the index, you could give your warlord the slugger and chopper to give him free weapons, keeping him at a base point cost of 65 points. But for this example, we're going to stick purely to the codex. So with this war boss, I have given him the custom shooter, which comes in at a bargain 2 points, absolute steal, and the cheaper close combat option of the big chopper at only 5 points. So this guy is coming in at 72 points, but he is still no slouch in combat. Oh no. So I've given him clan culture snakebite, but we could go for any clan culture with this. But I've given him that because it just gives him the 6+ feel no pain, which I think if you are on a budget and you're building a small list and you don't have points for some of these fancy extras, things like that, perhaps you don't have enough points to squeeze a pain boy into your list. So having that as your clan trait for your army saves you the cost of having to put in pain boys. So your warlord and, well, your entire army will be getting 6+ feel no pains, which is really good. For his shiny Gubbinz, I've upgraded his big chopper to Head Whopper's Kill Chopper. So this 5-point melee weapon becomes a fairly good weapon to like a really quite nasty weapon, because Head Whopper's Kill Chopper improves the armor penetration of this weapon by 1. So he's now at strength +2, so strength 8. AP -2 and damage 2, just a really reliable flat 2 damage. And AP -2 is very nice. That extra bit of AP will make a lot of difference. This also comes with the ability with wound rolls of 6+ made for attacks with this weapon inflict 2 mortal wounds instead of any normal damage. So any 6s to wound, that damage 2 becomes damage 2 mortal wounds there, so no invulnerable saves. So he could potentially pose quite a big threat, especially to things with quite high invulnerable saves. Think of things like Terminators with storm shields and stuff. I have had some good results with Head Whopper's Kill Chopper in the past. You get a couple of 6s and suddenly your opponent's day is becoming quite bad. But also his Warlord trait, I've given him the good old Might is Right, which will add 1 to your Warlord's strength and attacks characteristics. So now he's getting 5 attacks, +1 strength. So now that big chopper, +2 strength, +1 strength from the Warlord trait, he's now hitting at strength 9. This means he's posing a serious threat to anything to toughness 8. you know, he's still going to be wounding that on a 3+, and that's going to be really good for taking on things like you know, various vehicles and monsters and dreadnoughts and things. He's still going to be posing a very serious threat. So although he's a cheaper build option, he is in no way a slouch. He's going to be very effective and still a seriously big threat. So there's a couple of different build options there for your war boss. But who says your warlord has to be a war boss anyway? The big mech in Mega Armor is an equally viable choice, and actually, in many cases, a much better choice. They can perform quite a few different roles and can be built in various different ways and can actually benefit your army in greater ways than the war boss, as we're about to see. So with the first one I'm going to show you is the build that I've come up with, and I'm naming him the Tactical Warlord. So we've got the big mech in Mega Armor, 77 points. I've armed him with a combi rocket launcher for 12 points, a power claw for 13 points, the custom force field for 20 points, and his little grot oiler buddy for 4 points. So yeah, he's coming in at 116 points, so he's not cheap. However, this guy is definitely going to benefit your army tactically. So clan culture, I've gone for Blood Axe. The Blood Axe culture is very good in itself because it means he's going to benefit from being in cover in certain scenarios, and he also gains the ability to fall back from combat and then shoot or charge, which is very useful in itself. But the main reason I've given him that clan culture is so that he has access to an awesome piece of shiny Gubbinz that is exclusive to the Blood Axes. And I've given him Morgog's Thinking Cap. And what this does, if the bearer is your warlord, you can generate a second warlord trait for them. If the bearer is not your warlord, generate a warlord trait for them. So basically, because I've given him this, it means he can have 2 warlord traits. So that's, you know, these warlord traits are very strong. They give out some really good buffs. So the fact that we can give this guy 2 warlord traits is going to make him just amazing. So what have I given him? I've given him, first off, I've got a plan, lads. And this is the Blood Axe exclusive one as well. So if your warlord is on the battlefield, roll a dice for each command point you spend when using stratagems. On a 6+, that command point is immediately refunded. So that's really, really cool. So if you're looking to be using a lot of stratagems and getting the most out of your command points, every time you use a stratagem, or at least once every turn, you can roll a dice for every command point that stratagem cost, and on a 6+, you get a command point back. And with the amount of command points that you potentially have access to, this is going to be really, really nice to be able to get them back and use some more of the awesome stratagems within this codex. But also, on top of that, I've given him the warlord trait, Follow Me, Lads. So your warlord gains the War and Breaking Heads ability. This is incredible because now he's getting the buffs that a war boss gives out. So you're getting the best of both worlds now. You've got a big mech that is generating 5+ invulnerable saves from his custom force field. He can repair vehicles and do all the things that a big mech can do. But also, all your infantry around him are gaining the War ability, just as if he was a war boss. So yeah, tactically, this guy is brilliant. He's given out buffs to virtually everything in your army. But that's not where it stops. Because as well as giving the War ability, your army will also receive an additional 1 command point. So this guy is giving out the buffs of a big mech and a war boss. He can repair vehicles, he can throw out invulnerable saves, and he can regenerate command points, and he's getting the army an extra command point on top of that already. So as you can see, this is why I've called this guy the Tactical Warlord, and he can take on a variety of targets as well. He's got his shooter for infantry, he's got his rocket launcher for taking shots at vehicles. The power claw is going to make him no slouch in combat. He's got his grot oiler as well, so it's going to be helping him with vehicle repairs. This guy, as soon as I put this together, I was thinking of Skarner, and I'm sure he's going to be taking note of this, and he's probably come up with similar builds himself. But this is a really, really cool Warlord option for a Blood Axe army. But that is just one way we can go with a big mech. Let's take a look at another one. For my next build option, I've gone for what I call the Sniper Warlord. Now this is a big mech with shock attack gun. Now he comes in at 80 points plus 4 points for the obligatory grot oiler, because I think grot oilers for 4 points you might as well throw them in there. They just give that extra little bit of repair to your vehicles when you need it most, but it is optional. So his war gear, like I said, is the grot oiler and also the shock attack gun. I've given him clan culture death skulls, so he gets the 6+ invulnerable save, but that also means he gets to re-roll some dice. He'll get to re-roll a hit roll and a, what else does it do actually? Let me just remind myself and have another quick look at what the death skulls clan trait does. So models with this culture have a 6+ invulnerable save. In addition, you can re-roll a single hit roll, a single wound roll, and a single damage roll for each unit with this culture each time it shoots. So yeah, every time this guy shoots, he can re-roll a hit, a wound, and a damage roll for his weapon, which is really good, especially when his weapon is the shock attack gun, because the shock attack gun has some very nice rules. So it's heavy d6, strength 2d6, AP -5 with d6 damage. So remember, you can re-roll that damage roll, you can re-roll the hit roll, you can re-roll the wound roll. It's going to be rolling a lot of dice and re-rolling a lot of dice, this guy. And the weapon's just beautiful because you roll 2d6 strength. If you roll 11 or more, each successful hit inflicts d3 mortal wounds on the target in addition to any normal damage. So yeah, very cool. Plus remember, he's still got the Daka rule as well, so he could be potentially firing out more than d6 shots out of this thing. It's a really nasty gun. But the reason I've given him the Death Skulls trait as well as that is so that he gets access to the Warlord trait Opportunist, which is a Death Skull exclusive Warlord trait. So he can re-roll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by your Warlord that target enemy vehicle units. In addition, in the shooting phase, this Warlord can target enemy character units within 18 inches, even if they are not the closest enemy unit. So hence why I've called this guy the Sniper Warlord, because he can pick out enemy characters with this shock attack gun, with those re-rolls of dice, making it quite a reliable weapon, and potentially dishing out a lot of mortal wounds and some really high damage. So enemy characters are going to want to stay well away from this Warlord. And then for the shiny Gubbinz, I just went for the Super Cyborg Body. Each time the bearer loses a wound, roll a d6. On a roll of 5+, that wound is not lost. You cannot make it obviously. So basically, it's just up. So he's got his 6+ invulnerable save from the Death Skull trait, but now on top of that, he's also got a 5+ feel no pain. It's going to make him a very resilient guy actually, with the potential to stay alive and survive some quite horrendous shots. Because he's got that 6+ invuln save, and then even if wounds get through, even if mortal wounds are getting through, he's potentially saving them on 5+, which is not bad at all, especially as that doesn't cost any points because it's a Warlord trait, shiny Gubbinz. It's completely free. So yeah, this guy could pose a really nasty surprise for enemy Warlords, and it'd just be brilliant to just fry one of them with the shock attack gun. Pretty awesome weapon. So look, I've gone through quite a few different builds here, and covering the big mech with shock attack gun and big mech in mega armor and the war boss and some different options. It depends what you want out of your war boss. So you can go for fighty, you can go for shooty, some kind of support warlord. But for me, what I wanted was something really flashy, really expensive, something that I could spend my teeth on, and a warlord that is going to lead my bad moons to glory. And I feel that I have come up with the perfect build of a warlord, and hence why I've just called him my warlord, because this is a guy I will be building and will be leading my army in the future. So like I said, he is expensive. He costs 122 points because he's a big mech in mega armor. He comes with the combi scorcher, the power claw, the teleport blaster, and a grot oiler. So first off, just to go through some of those weapons, he's got the combi scorcher, which is kicking out the D6 auto hits from the scorcher. It's a beautiful, beautiful weapon. He's also got the shooter option on there, the power claw for your close combat attacks, and the teleport blaster, which is an absolutely beautiful bonus weapon. Now the teleport blaster, it's an assault 3, range 12, strength 8, AP -2, damage 1. But it has the abilities that if a model suffers any unsaved wounds from this weapon and is not slain, roll a d6 at the end of the phase. If the result is greater than the model's wound characteristic, it is slain. It's just dead, which is just great. So this thing's kicking out 3 shots, strength 8, AP -2, damage 1, so it's pretty tasty anyway. But on top of that, you've got that chance to just slay a model completely and kill it outright, which is great. But why have I chosen that over the custom force field, I hear you ask, which is generally thought of as a much more useful piece of war gear? And it is a very cool piece of war gear. Purely because I built this guy for shooting. He's maximum DACA. So he's got the clan culture bad moon, so he's re-rolling those ones for shooting, which is going to be really nice for that teleport blaster. I've also given him the warlord trait, the best armor teeth can buy, and that is a bad moon exclusive one, and that gives him a 4+ invulnerable save. So now he's kicking out with a 2+ save and a 4+ invuln, which is pretty damn awesome in my book. So it made the teleport, the custom force field redundant, because that's only giving out a 5+ invuln, and that's only from shooting attacks. Yes, it is forming a bubble and protecting your other stuff, but this guy he's all about glory seeking. He's a bad moon. He is out there, he wants the best kills for himself, he wants to have the flashiest gear and show off in front of all his boys about how amazing he is. So he's not interested in protecting them, he's interested in giving himself all the best armor, the best guns, and being a proper bad moon war boss. So to represent that, I've given him the shiny Gubbinz, the Gobshot Thunderbus, another bad moon exclusive piece of war gear. And just like the dead shiny shooter, this replaces the shooter part of his weapon. And what this thing does is quite incredible. It is a range 12-inch, heavy 2d6, so potentially a lot of shots there, strength 5, AP -1, damage 1. Abilities: this weapon automatically hits its target. It's essentially a double scorcher with a 12-inch range. Now think about that, 12-inch range. That means this guy can be teleported in and fire this thing off, unlike most flamer weapons which fall short because you've got to be over 9 inches away. So 12-inch range, heavy 2d6, so potentially 12 automatic hits at strength 5, AP 1, damage 1. He's still firing the teleport blaster as well, which has the 12-inch range as well. 3 shots from that with the potential to just automatically slay someone. Strength 8 shots from that. But also, because this thing only replaces the shooter part of his weapon, he's still got the Scorcher. So my war boss is kicking out 3d6 auto hits of fairly high strength, AP1, just goodness. If he's within 8 inches, it's 3d6 auto hits, armor penetrating auto hits. I just can't get my head around that. That is just absolutely beautiful. Plus the 3 shots from the teleport blaster, because he can fire all of this at once, and because he's firing this Gobshot Thunderbuss and the Scorcher at once, 2 parts of the same weapon, it would have a minus to his ballistic skill, but that doesn't matter because they're automatically hitting, and the teleport blaster is not affected by this. So he is potentially, if you roll all 6s, he is potentially putting out 21 shots by himself. It's just absolutely beautiful. So he's really tough to kill, really good armor. He's got good combat potential because he's got the Power Claw. He can fix vehicles and stuff. He's got the Grot Oiler for that, so he can fix, like, you know, D3 plus 1 wounds on vehicles. And he's just kicking out some amazing Dakka. I absolutely love this guy, and I can't wait to get building on him and come up with some cool conversion to represent this awesome Bad Moon war boss. Because he's just gonna, it's just awesome. It's awesome, if I do say so myself. But yeah, so there we go, guys. There's some good build options there for you for your big mechs and your war bosses, especially my Bad Moon one. But I am a bit biased here. But before I bring this video to a close, we've got to cover weird boys as well, because your warlord does not have to be a war boss or a big mech in mega armor or a big mech with a shock attack gun. It can also be a weird boy. And so I started having a look through the weird boy stuff. So obviously standard, war gear wise, I've given this guy the standard weird boy staff, which is all you can give him, so you don't have any options there. But he's a nice cheap option for your warlord, because a weird boy is only costing you 62 points. So that is an absolute steal for your warlord. And I've given this guy the Clan Culture Snakebite. So he's got that 6+ Feel No Pain. But that's also given him access to some Snakebite exclusive Gubbinz. And the Gubbinz I've given this guy is very cool indeed. When I read the rules of this thing, is Brog's Buzz Bomb, Snakebite model only. Brog's Buzz Bomb has the following profile: range 6 inches, type grenade 3d6, so 3d6 shots from this. Strength 5, AP -1, damage 1, so really quite nice. But the abilities: this weapon can only be used once per battle and automatically hits its target. After all of its attacks have been resolved, you can immediately select another enemy unit within 6 inches of the target and resolve 2d6 attacks against it with the same weapon. So this bomb that he can throw out is hitting one unit with 3d6 auto hits, strength 5, AP 1, and then straight after that, if there's another unit within 6 inches, he can do it again with 2d6 auto hits. It's only once per battle, but I think once you've done that once, he's not going to let this guy live to do it again. So that was just really cool, and I wanted to choose that rather than the obvious choice for a weird boy, which is obviously the Scorched Git Bones, which adds 1 to the psychic tests. But to be honest, I don't think that's really needed with a weird boy, because you can get the benefit from just being near groups of boys to improve get your buffs to your psychic tests. Yeah, the +1 to it is nice, and it means you don't need to be near them. But this Brog's Buzz Bomb just means, as well as his psychic powers, which are pretty immense, he's got this Buzz Bomb, little surprise, so he can fling that out in the shooting phase as well as perform all his psychic shenanigans. So that's going to be a really nasty surprise for your enemy. For his Warlord trait, I gave him the Snakebite exclusive one as well, Surly as a Squiggoth. You can re-roll failed morale tests for friendly Snakebite units while they are within 6 inches of your Warlord. So that's really cool. So units around him re-rolling their failed morale tests, so it's keeping them near him to buff his psychic powers. In addition, friendly Snakebite Gretchen units automatically pass morale tests while they're within 12 inches of your Warlord. So he gets fearless grots, basically, super grots. And this synergizes perfectly with the stratagem Grot Shield. So the way I would use this guy would be just to surround him with multiple units of Gretchen, fearless Gretchen that will not run, and that he can use as a Grot Shield if people do take shots at him, which is very cool. And then they can shield him from damage as he closes in. They can act as nice tar pit units to bog units down, and then he can lob in his buzz bomb and cause horrendous damage, as well as firing off his psychic powers, which I will cover in another video, but could cause some horrendous damage. And you could go one further as well and use the stratagem to make him a warp head, so he can throw out the bomb and do 2 psychic powers, which would be absolutely brutal. This one weird boy could be causing absolute havoc and carnage amongst the enemy army. It would be quite beautiful, and surrounded by fearless grots that will happily die protecting their weird boy master. It's quite fluffy and very cool for a Snakebite army. I think if I was running a Snakebite army, I'd be very tempted to go with a weird boy Warlord to lead them, because I think it kind of adds to the fluff and the feel of the army quite well. But there you go, guys. Anyway, this is just a few examples that I've put together from reading through the book. I haven't play tested these. This is all theory hammer and maths hammer. But it's been good fun just going through and building different types of warlords to fulfill different roles. And as you can see, although within the war gear section of some of these units they've taken away a lot of options from us, with these warlord traits, with these stratagems, with these shiny gubbins, we can actually create some highly customizable warlords to use within our Ork armies, and that is fantastic. But anyway, guys, thanks again for watching. Please share your thoughts below, and please share some of your warlord builds below, and have a look through this book and have some fun building different types of warlords that can do different things. And I think you'll see that you can come up with some really good combinations and some good strategies to use these guys. So anyway, guys, thanks again for watching. This is 6+ Stevo signing out.